You know, there was a time when I owned only one air gun, and this was it. Well, it's currently the middle of April, and it's still snowing outside, so thought I might stay indoors and reminisce about some old air guns. This is my Crosman 1322, as you can see from the box, which I still have the original box. I bought this, I think, in late 1987 or maybe early 1988. Not exactly sure on that one. No, I had it definitely around that time. But yeah, this is a Crosman 1322. It didn't originally have black grips on it. These I painted because it came with, well, what I considered fairly dirt brown plastic grips and a forend on it. So originally I tried my hand at making a set of wooden stocks for this gun, and I had them on it for quite a while. Eventually I thought they were just a bit clumsy, so I went back to the original plastic ones, but thought I'd give them a coat of black paint, and I rather like it, but it is obviously not original. I'm not too worried about it. It's not exactly a collector's item. You'll notice on the box, however, that the grips on this looked a little bit fancier. There's some sort of weird detailing around here, and there's a bit of graining in the plastic, which we didn't get with the ones I had. So this is a picture, obviously, of an earlier style gun, and you can sort of see too here on the bottom of the grip, the is closed off. It wraps around the bottom of the metal grip of the gun, whereas this one, the metal is exposed. The grip is obviously a little bit shorter. Did that gun ever exist? Well, a friend of mine has a 1322 as well, and lo and behold, his matches the picture on the box exactly right. His gun does seem a bit earlier. This has a matte wrinkle finish paint on it. The trigger is, I think, brass plated, because that definitely appears to be steel. Trigger guard on mine is a bit elongated as well, a little bit larger. His is almost a perfect circle, and he has this interesting little, looks almost like reminiscent of leatherwork or something, or reminds me of the Hammerly free pistols with their ridiculously ornate grips they used to have back in the 60s. Is that what Crosman were going after? Hard to say. But I say both these guns are what they call the Medalist 1322. They introduced these ones in 1977, and they had originally a metal breech at the back here. This one is plastic, so this definitely is later, which I think came out in 1983. No, 1981. 81 they replaced this, and then that lasted until 1996 when they came up with what they have today, which is they've replaced this separate sliding breech cover and hammer assembly. This is the hammer you have to cock here before you fire it. They've replaced that with a straight bolt, a single bolt thing, which is kind of neat looking. And if you're a fanatic about these guns, you can actually order in a replacement metal breech with that bolt action system on it. However, you can't attach the original rear sight to it. This is the original style of rear sight, just a plastic piece, one screw. You can slide it back and forth. Another adjustment on the back to raise it up and down. Yeah, you just have to loosen it off and slide it and hope you get it the right amount. Eventually you zero in on where you're supposed to be. The front sight is also plastic because it's part of this plastic front cap assembly. This one has a rather large pin that goes through it here. Mine, the later one, appears to be just a straight through roll pin. So yeah, they make changes to these over the years for sure, but not a lot. And I say, you can buy pretty much the same gun nowadays. One thing about them, of course, you notice right off the bat is they're pretty big. For an air pistol, there's a lot happening in front of your trigger. They're fairly long, but ungainly. But at the time when I was a single guy living in a rural area, I noticed there were some abandoned gravel pits that looked like a great place for some target practice or plinking, and I didn't own an air gun at the time. My old Czechoslovakian air rifle was long gone, and a mystery gun that simply came in a box labeled Luftpistol. Was a great air pistol. I loved that thing. Spring piston. I thought it was terrific. And it broke shortly after, maybe a year or two after we got it. Could not find any way to replace the worn out sear parts in it. Nobody had spare parts. Nobody even knew who made the gun. I'm assuming it was German or East German, but anyway, that one disappeared. Ended up scrapping it just because just could not find any way to get it going again safely that you could trust it. The sear obviously took a lot of strain on it and just liked to wear out. So I ended up with one of these. This one being mine. And I shot it quite a bit early on, and I liked it. Right now it's not pumping up as well as it should. It's a little bit loose. I need to go over it and tighten everything down, and maybe a bit of lubrication and get it going again. One thing you might notice is this is not the original rear sight. I've got a fairly crudely half epoxied on, screwed in rear sight assembly. This is a nice click adjustable rear sight, which came off that Luftpistol. I did save some parts from it, and about this is the only thing left remaining. And I cobbled it onto there, and I still have the original sight for this gun. I have it tucked away somewhere, but I have no plans to put it back on there. I don't really shoot this gun all that much. I have other air pistols I enjoy more actually these days. But I thought it was a bit of a shame it just sat in the box, and thought it'd be fun to take it out and clean it up, make sure it worked again, test it, and test it maybe for some accuracy, which I don't know if I've really been super accurate about it, over the sandbags, testing for accuracy. I don't know, I can't remember. But as I said, I've had it a long time, and Crosman still make these. Almost exactly the same thing. This grip assembly that you see here, really similar. This dates back to the 1940s. I think the Crosman 105, I think, Bullseye they called it, a pump-up gun that they made back in those days. And yeah, these parts are still around nowadays. You'll recognize them if you own a 2240. This is the same basic grip frame and trigger mechanism they use in that gun now, even though that one's CO2. So yeah, it's proved to be a cost-effective way to make an air pistol. It does have a safety right here, which blocks the trigger. Of course, if the gun's not cocked, it won't fire. You have to cock it before you fire it. So yeah, that's one of the things that makes things a little bit harder on these. You have to pump it up first, then you put in a pellet, then you cock it. Then you can fire it, or you can put it on safe. So yeah, yeah, pump-up guns, they're obviously a bit slower to shoot, but as I said, for a while this was my only air pistol, mainly because the store that had it, and you can see the label on the box says, you can still see remnants of the word Canadian Tire there, which is obviously where I got it. Yeah, they were right next to where I lived, so I ended up looking in the showcase quite a bit, and there it was. The serial number on this gun dates it to April '86. And I definitely bought it long after that, so it may have sat in inventory for quite a while. This one here has no serial number on it, so we can't date it. It should have one somewhere, but I haven't found it, so maybe they didn't put them on there at that time. Maybe it wasn't a requirement. Crosman has made some other variations on that theme over the years, and this is one of them here, a Crosman backpacker. The 72289G, G being for green. This is again the same gun as the 1322. I packaged it up with a bit longer barrel, a larger cocking handle, and a detachable shoulder stock, which I guess is what gives it the backpacker name, because you can just push this little button here and the stock rolls off. And you can stuff this presumably into your backpack. Go for a hike, shoot some tin cans, and come on back home. It also has with it a pair of matching green grips with location pins. Don't line up to anything much, no. Yeah, so you got to put the screws in there to hold them tight. This makes for a very large and clumsy pistol. Yeah, that's a lot of barrel. If you're going to shoot it as a pistol, it's a two-handed pistol for sure. The sights on it, same slide slide and hope rear type rear sight, but it has, if you notice, a second aperture right here, so you can flip it around upside down, use a notch for more conventional pistol shooting. If you're shooting with the shoulder stock on there, it would make more sense to flip over to the aperture. And you'll notice this stock here has little grooves in it that slide on in to these pins here, and then there's this little locking pin on the bottom side of the grip, which the other guns here do not have. So even though there was a shoulder stock attachment available for these guns as an accessory, this one is not it. This one will only fit this type of gun here. So that's sort of interesting. You line it up like that and then just click into position. So there you go. This one made in June of 1999 according to the serial number, if I'm reading it properly. This one has the newer style plastic breech on it, so you don't have a separate cocking knob. You simply pump the gun up, draw this back, pop in your pellet, push down just like a bolt action rifle, and fire. There you go. Very cool. Easier, neater looking. I do really like that. Don't believe this would be retrofittable to an older gun because of the slight difference in the mechanism. But yeah, pretty cool. Don't need to take this one apart. This one has been pretty good condition, working nicely. But I would like to compare it ballistics-wise to the 1322 and see what we can get out of it. These are fairly powerful guns. You can pump them up quite a bit, and they could exceed 500 feet per second if they're in, say, 177 caliber, which is why you see most of these guns as being the 1322 version, not the 1377, at least on the Canadian market, because if they go over that 500 feet per second magic number, that makes them requiring a license to own them, which, being a handgun, makes it a licensed handgun, which is another whole hurdle of issues. So yeah, you don't want to be buying one of those on the Canadian market. So I'm gathering, to be safe, they made them for many, many years only in the 22 caliber version. The 177 versions are available again, and I imagine that Crosman has come up with a special low power market requirement type of valve system in there. We'll take these apart and show you how they're put together for the purposes of cleaning and servicing them, making sure these are working tight again, and see if they pump up properly. Well, as I said, this old gun of mine is not pumping up as like it should. That should have some resistance to it. If I keep going at it, it seems to eventually get there, but something's obviously not quite right. So time to take it apart. Done it lots of times over the years. So first thing I usually do is remove the grip. And interestingly enough, this particular version of the gun has a Robertson screw head in there. That one's a little too large. The regular Robertson number 2 is what fits that, which is rather unusual, since usually when I see those in Canada. A square screw head. Not a particularly attractive looking screw, but and this one's got a slot across it as well, just in case you can't find a Robertson bit. But yeah, I don't know why this gun has a Robertson screw in there. Okay, remove the back end off it. One thing you must watch when you take these apart is right here is a little tiny spring, and behind it is a little tiny ball bearing. That is what provides the click stop on your safety going back and forth. So the trick is to put that someplace safe and not lose it. Really basic trigger on these things. This pulls, the trigger pulls the, when the safety's off, pulls that back. There's a fairly crunchy looking spring in there, and that's the sear that lets the hammer go forward. Really basic, simple, but it works. Okay, well, let's take this other Crosman apart, because I already took mine apart, off camera mainly, because my batteries died out, things like that. On this particular one, you have to take the grips off at first. The other one you don't, because they don't cover the screw at the back here, but this one they do. So grips come away first. Not too hard, obviously. Okay, that was easy enough. Unthread these two here. There's the main valve. That's the seal on it there, which is in hopefully good condition, because that's really a critical part of any pneumatic gun, is how well that seat onto the inside of that. And if it gets a little bit distorted, or a little bit of a small crack in that that hard seal, it will leak. And once it starts to leak, it will leak more. And then you're done. And you have to start looking for new parts. Fortunately for this gun, parts would be readily available, so that wouldn't be too much of a problem. Okay, let's try the slightly newer Medalist. Still made in the 80s though. 3 pumps to start off with. One. So that's pretty useless at 3 pumps. Clearly not going to get any sort of decent speed and spin on those on the pellets. So let's try it at 6. See if it picks up a bit. .245. .252. Okay, let's see how it does with 10. .325. Okay, let's see what we can get out of this thing, chronograph-wise. Shooting 3 pellets of the RWS Super Point, since they seem to be decently consistent in these guns. We'll start off with 3 pumps. .221. Consistent, but not terribly powerful. Let's try 6 pumps. .293. Okay, let's go full power, 10 pumps. .323. .322. Three pumps, give it a try. Okay. .268. .277. Okay. Let's up the power to 6 pumps and see what we get. 325, a little lower there. All right, what we've been waiting for. Let's get it up to 10 pumps and see what she does. $400. Pretty consistent. The official factory specs on the guns aren't great. Even at 10 pumps, we're looking at 370 feet per second with a fairly lightweight 12.5 grain pellet. I was shooting 14 grain pellets. So the 1322s aren't that powerful a gun. The backpacker obviously did a lot better. Anyway, I took them all to the range and started out with the oldest gun, the one that was actually performing a bit better than mine. And once we got it loaded up, I tried them all at 6 pumps. I didn't vary anything. Didn't try at 10. It's a lot of pumping, a lot of noise. And the old gun actually didn't do all that badly. The sight picture wasn't bad. The trigger is fairly atrocious, fairly hard to pull, as it was on all of them. But I got a half-decent group here. It came in at 21 millimeters and just a little bit less than an inch, which, not so bad, especially considering how much I was fighting that trigger. Then I tried my gun, still using the old loop pistol sight that was on it. I later decided that sight, after all these years, really isn't well suited for that the front sight, so I ended up switching it back later. But I do think that the lower performance of this pistol, obviously its seals are kind of shot. The pellets aren't going fast enough to get the best accuracy out of them. Exact same pellets, RWS Super Points. Been using those all along here. And the group size is about double. For some reason I thought I'd shot 5 shots here, but I only fired 4. And the group was, definitely bigger than what the old gun was doing with its little bit better speed. I wouldn't worry about it shooting a bit low there. I didn't really worry about the sight picture. Then I switched over to the backpacker, which is a shockingly loud gun to pump. That front forend is quite hollow, and my gosh, you couldn't really imagine using this for any sort of hunting or pest control. They'd hear you coming a mile away. I did flip over the rear sight on the gun, and I was using the peep sight on it. And let's see how that turned out. So yeah, we take basically the same mechanism, give it a longer barrel for a little bit more velocity, put a shoulder stock on it and a peep sight on it, and yeah, it can shoot enlarged one-hole groups at 10 meters. So can't complain about that at all. And I thought, just for fun, since I brought them with me, I would shoot the same gun with wide cutter pellets. And even though I'm aiming at that bullseye to the right of the one I first shot, the pellets are hitting considerably lower. Considerably lower. It just goes to show you, you have to check your gun with your pellets. Wow, I was just stunned. I mean, they're the same quality pellet, just a different style, maybe slightly different weight, and not shooting very well at all out of this gun. Pretty miserable group, considering how well it did with the pointed pellets. So there we have it. 3 very similar guns. Mine, which is the middle one in age, is clearly not performing well. I would love to wonder how it would do
if I could refresh it with fresh seals or maybe new parts, new valve even. But the trouble is you can buy that gun brand new for $70 these days. Saw them on sale just the other week. And I just can't see any sense in spending that kind of money on this gun that I really don't shoot that much. I have other air guns that are easier to shoot, less noisy, decently powerful, decently accurate. So I was surprised. I thought these guns would do a little bit better than they did. But they certainly have been a popular air pistol over the years, and as I say, Crosman still sells them by the bushel. And I think on some level, and I was maybe a bit fooled by it too, is that they are loud. Like the muzzle blast from these guns is significant, and it makes you think they're more powerful than they are. But it's just basically the nature of the high pressure gas blasting out the end of the barrel when the pellet leaves that a spring gun doesn't quite do, because it just has a slightly different shot cycle to it. So I think these guns trick people into thinking they're a bit more potent than they are. I mean, they're not terrible, but when they're in full working order, but they're not as powerful as you might think they would be. And this backpacker is certainly interesting. Obviously, it's a carbine. It's not really a pistol, even though it does come with pistol grips, but it's kind of useless with those. But I was surprised. This one's actually kind of fun to shoot. Anyway, I've got more fun projects in the works, so thanks for watching, and consider subscribing. I'll be back.